You're welcome to Daily Bread. This is Joshua Jeremiah, your host. It's a great honor and a great privilege sharing God's word with you. We don't take it for granted. We give God all the praise for this opportunity, and we thank God for you as well for taking the time to watch and to share these with as many as you know. Please continue to do that. Help us spread it everywhere so you can get to the ends of the earth, blessing, impacting, and transforming the lives of many to the glory of God. In Jesus' mighty name. Wait for your time in God. In God's programs for your life, He makes all things beautiful in His time. God operates according to the timing of His program for our lives. God has His program for our lives, and He has the timings for their fulfillment. Ecclesiastes 3 verse 1 says, "To everything there is a season, a time for every purpose under heaven." Understand that. There's a time, there's a season for every purpose under heaven. Verse 11, it reads, Ecclesiastes 3:11 says, "For he has made everything beautiful in its time. Also, he has put eternity in their hearts, except that no one can find out the work that God does from beginning to end. He has made everything beautiful in its time." So God has the timings for his programs, the timings for their fulfillment. And so you've got to wait for them and follow him closely. Don't jump out before your time. There is a time for your showing forth or your manifestation or your revealing to the nations. And there's a time when you are in a hidden place, a place of anonymity, and a place where you're hidden and you're not known, you're not seen. Wait for it. There's a time for your showing forth, manifestation. Wait for it. If it's not the time, it's just not the time. No matter what you do. Luke 1 verse 76 to 80. "And you, child," prophecy about John the Baptist, "will be called the prophet of the highest, for you will go before the face of the Lord to prepare his ways, to give knowledge of salvation to his people by the remission of their sins." 78. "Through the tender mercy of our God, with which the day spring from on high has visited us, to give light to those who sit in darkness and the shadow of death, to guide our feet into the way of peace." And so the child who, John the Baptist, grew and became strong in spirit and was in the desert till the day of his manifestation to Israel. King James says, till the day of his showing forth. The child grew where? In the desert till the day of his manifestation. So there's a day of your manifestation. And before that day, you must remain in your closet, remain in your desert, remain in your Jerusalem, remain in your place of your hidden place. John was in the desert till the day of his manifestation or showing forth to Israel. So there is a time of where you are anonymous, a state of being unnoticed. When you're unnoticed, there's a time where you're hidden, where nobody knows you really. People don't really know you, but there's a time for that. But there's a time for your showing forth as well, where your name goes everywhere and people know you. Everyone has a period of being in the desert and when God announces them or showcases them to the world. If you don't wait for God to take you through the processes, you will truncate that. You will shorten it. You will derail God's agenda in your life. If you don't wait for God's timing, you will lose all. Hear me well. If you don't wait for God's timing, you will not lose some, you will lose all. I'd like you to take note. Jesus was silent for 30 years of his life. And when it was time, he spoke for 3.5 years, and the world till date cannot contain all he said. 30 years he was silent, and spoke for 3.5 years. I like to put it this way. 30 years while he was silent, he was preparing for a 3.5 years ministry. So for those 30 years, he was preparing for a ministry that will last only 3.5 years on earth. But its impact will be everlasting. Woo! My God. Preparations that are well when you invest in inadequate preparation, your impact lasts. 30 years preparation for a 3.5 years ministry. How many years do we prepare for what we do? Many are not prepared for anything. We just jump right into it. And that's why we produce the mess we produce. For 30 years, he was preparing for a ministry that would only last 3.5 years on earth. But its impact will be everlasting. God never promised anyone that your ministry will be 70 years on earth. There's no promise like that. I know there's a promise for long life, but even in that, it's still not in your hands. You can believe it, trust God for it, but you still don't determine it. How are you sure your ministry will be here for 50 years, 70 years, 80 years? How are you sure? He prepared 30 years. He spent 30 years preparing for a 3.5 years ministry. No wonder on the day he was baptized in Jordan, the heavens opened. The voice declared, "This is my beloved son in whom I'm well pleased in." He had not done anything. He had not healed anyone. No miracle had taken place yet. Heaven was declaring, "This is my beloved son in whom I'm well pleased in." What did he do? He waited. He was preparing and waiting for the right time. So hear me well. For 30 years, he was preparing for a ministry that will last only 3.5 years on the earth, but its impact is everlasting. My question, are you preparing for a lasting impact or for a temporal relevance? That's an honest question, a very deep question to everyone to ask. I mean, prove yourself. Are you preparing for a lasting impact or a temporal relevance? Because many, it's just a temporary relevance. They just want to make a name, make a name. Do you want to be a shining star that shines forever, or a shooting star that appears suddenly and suddenly it's no more? And this is what happens when you wait for God's timing for your life. When you wait for God's timing, you'll be a shining star that shines forever. But when you don't wait, you'll be a shooting star that suddenly is here and suddenly is gone. I'd like you to take note. If you jump out before your time, you'll be undone, unprepared, ill-equipped. You'll be like a cake that is only cooked on one side and is useless. Hosea 7 verse 8, the New King James reads, "Ephraim has mixed himself among the peoples." Ephraim is like a cake unturned. You know, when a cake is unturned, it's only cooked on one side. The Living Bible reads, Hosea 7:8, "My people mingle with the heathens, picking up their evil ways. Thus they become as good for nothing as a cake baked, as a half-baked cake." When you're half-baked, you're good for nothing. Unturned, you're not useful. When you jump out of time, that's what happens. When you jump out before time, you become undone. You become half-baked. We have so many half-baked people everywhere. Ill-equipped, ill-informed, unprepared. They're not really useful. And when you're half-baked, the Living Bible says, thus they become good for nothing. I'd like you to take note. Stop trying to make things happen by any means. It won't last. Wait for God's timing for your life. John 7 verse 1 to 6. And after these things, Jesus walked in Galilee, for he did not want to walk in Judea, because the Jews sought to kill him. Now the Jewish feast of tabernacles was at hand. His brothers therefore said to him, "Depart from here, go away from this Galilee, go to Judea." Judea is a bigger city. This place is a small village. "Depart from here, go to Judea, that your disciples also may see the works that you do. Go and publicize your work. Let people see and come." They were telling Jesus, go to a much larger city than this small place and become popular. That's the drive for many today. Many are seeking popularism at all cost. Jesus did not call us to be popular, but to impact our world. Verse 4, Jesus said, those were his brothers telling him, what are you doing in Galilee? Go to Judea. Become popular. Verse 4, for no one does anything in secret, while he himself seeks to be known openly. if you do these things, show yourself to the world. They were telling him, go and advertise yourself to the world. And unfortunately, that's what most of the people are doing. They're advertising themselves. They are not advertising Christ. It's not Christ that is being advertised. It's not Christ that is being revealed. It is them and their projects and their agendas. So here they were telling him, show yourself to the world. Exactly what most are doing, showing themselves to the world. God is not walking them, they are the one walking God. Do you understand that? He said, for even, show yourself to the world, for even his brothers did not believe in him. Then Jesus said to them, my time has not yet come, but your time is always ready. Oh my God. Jesus' response to them when they said, go to Judea, show yourself to the world so that you can have more people. Jesus' response was that when he said, my time has not yet come, this was what he was telling them. I operate by the timing of God. When he said, my time has not come, that's what he was telling them. I operate by the timing of God. I wait for the right time as determined by God, by heaven for me to go to such and such a place. I don't go and come as I please. I don't. I'm being led and guided by the Spirit. I don't go anywhere as I please until I'm led by the Spirit. Then he now said, but you, when he said to them, but your time is always ready. This was what he was telling them. You are not governed by the timing of God. You come and go as you please. You do as you will. Hear me well. If you are going to fulfill, and not just do, but fulfill God's plans and purposes for your life, you are going to have to be governed by the timing of God for everything you do. If you are going to, I said, not just do the will of God, but fulfill, start, finish, accomplish. Like Paul will say, I've run the race, I've finished my course, I've kept the faith. If you are going to complete all of God's courses for your life, you are going to have to be governed by the timing of God for your life. You can't come and go as you please. You can't do as you will, as you want. Your life should be governed by God's timing. It is the way to fulfilling purpose and destiny. God bless you and keep it till we meet again in Jesus' mighty name.